Hello everyone and welcome back to Oddmon. In today's episode, I'm going to be making a dragon. Yes, here it is. Let me pencil this in real quick for us. I was originally intending to do like a salamander, but that's not really monstrous enough. So I decided, you know what? Let's just add some horns and wings and call it a dragon. So that's what I've done. Now I will be putting in some colours, and if you hate these colours as much as I do because these Sharpies are not very nice, then don't worry because they will have different colours. This is just so I can see what kind of materials I want to use. So the purple that I'm putting down will be one type of material, the body material, and then the next colour will be another type of material, a second one. So I'll use something for the body, something different for the belly, and then something different again for the wings and the ears. So now that I've got a plan, it really helps me with making a pattern or a template. So I use an old magazine, cut it up and assemble it to kind of get an idea of how I want my plushie to look. So once that's all done, yeah, I've got a fairly firm idea of where I want to go. Here are all the pieces and I get to work on the cutting. So I've got this black mystery material which I'm going to use for one dragon, and then I slowly trace out what I want to use for another dragon. For the horns and the ears, I make sure that I have two right sides and two left sides because the material is a little nicer on one side than it is on the other, so I just want to have opposites. So you get the two nice sides on the outside, so a left side and a right side. The same again with the pieces of the body like the wings. I want to have a left wing and a right wing, so I'm using the same pattern and just flipping it over. Same with the body pieces as well. I quickly cut everything out and I end up with a white dragon and a black dragon. Now, I want to decide which one to show you. I think I'm going to do the black dragon first, so let's get into it. I'm going to start with the horn first, so I've put the two outside pieces together on the inside, and I'm sewing around what will be the inside piece. And that's so you won't be able to see these stitches. They'll be invisible when I turn them inside out. Now because this is cotton on cotton, I will do a second layer of stitches around the outside and then I will cut away the seam allowance, which is what I've done right here. I'll give it a little turn inside out so you can see what it looks like when it's all finished. There we go, that's looking all right. And before I continue, I just want to make sure that these are done and out of the way, so I will be putting a little bit of stuffing in them so they'll be ready when I get to them. Nice. Now it's the same with the ear. I put the two outside pieces together and start sewing, but ooh, that doesn't look too good. And that doesn't look too good either. So this black mystery material, it's very slippery. It just does not want to stay in place. So I had to do a bit of a workaround, try sewing it from the top and then going down so that when it did kind of slip and slide a bit, it was going to be in a part that wouldn't matter. So I carefully go around the edge and the outline turned out really well. I'm happy with how all the curves were. I quickly sewed up a second piece and I was less happy with how that turned out. It looks a bit dodgy. So I did fix that a bit off camera because that corner there was a bit of a tragedy, I'm not gonna lie. I decided to finish the ears first. I cut away the seam allowance just so I could turn them and they would sit nicer. And I have to say, wow, this black material, it feels really plush. It's nice and smooth and thick and velvety and it just feels good. So like emboldened with this success, I went to do the wings and I had the same problem. The mystery black material slipped and slid everywhere. So I kind of just persevered with it, did different parts of the wing at a time and then just connected them all together just so that I would be able to finally have a piece that was correct, that didn't slip and slide too much. And then I went over it a second time to make sure all the sides were neat and it was the shape I wanted. Again, I cut away the seam allowance, so that it would sit nicely when I turned it. And when I did, oh, gotta say, it does feel very nice. This black material is very plush, so really love how that turned out. I did the other wing and I had all the pieces ready for putting the body together. So right here I've got what will be the face connecting to the back, and I want to put the horns on first. So I want to pre-sew the horns, and you might be thinking, what's pre-sewing? So this is just where instead of like sandwiching the horns between the two pieces, I just sew them down first so I don't have to worry about them sliding away when I sew everything together. It's also very useful because this material is so slippery, so it takes 30 seconds just to sew them in place, and it saves a lot of hassle when I get to this part where I've got the larger pieces sandwiching them together. Just makes it easier for me to go over, and I don't have to have that extra worry of things not being in the right place. Now that the horns are on, I also want to pre-sew the ears on. So I will be putting them fairly close to the horns and just sewing them fairly close to the edge as well, because I don't want this seam or this pre-sew seam to be seen in the end. I sew both of the ears down fairly quickly, get those out of the way, and they turn out really nice. It also helps me to see if I've positioned them in the right place or if I need to unpick it. This time, I think they turned out in a really good spot, so there we go. Now, before I forget, it's time to do the wings. So I've pre-sewed the horns and the ears. The last thing to pre-sew will be the wings. So I'm going to do that fairly quick, and it's pretty easy. Once again, just making sure I'm fairly close to the edge so this pre-sew seam won't be seen when I eventually put the body part onto this back part. We've got the dragon mostly ready for putting on the belly and the sides. So here is the belly fur, or the belly piece. This fur was very dense. It feels so nice and plush, but I had to go around the edges and kind of taper it. So instead of it being like a very hard edge with the fur, I rounded it off a bit so that the sewing needle would have extra area to move down on without having it too thick under the pressure foot. And I do think that this black mystery material and this fur material is about as thick as what my sewing machine can handle. It was about 1/2 centimeter thick, I believe. Anyway, I clipped it all up, and the clips actually helped to compress the fur more to make it even easier to sew. I was worried about the slipping and sliding because the black material was very slippery, but I didn't end up having a problem with this fur, so that was really nice. I go around the start of the first leg, down the side of the body, and just go around the second leg as well, taking my time to make sure that I got like a nice shape and I don't have to do too much cleanup work when it's all done. I get to almost to the end of the leg, I spin it around and go down to the very tip of the tail. I also finish going around the front of the leg and continue up past the fur onto the nose. And it was at this part of the video that I realized that this nice plush velvety mystery material is velvety because it's velvet. It feels velvety because it is velvet. Oh my god. Okay, I am not a material scientist. I bought this black material from the op shop. I didn't know what it was. It took me hours of using it to figure out that it was velvet. Don't judge me. Yep, so there's that. Anyway, let's continue with the video. It's the same for the other side of the dragon. I clip it up again and sew it real quick, just like before, so that the belly and side pieces are all together. I also want to leave a gap at the back of the tail so I have a place to turn it. So when I'm done, I cut away the seam allowance on the feet as well so it's easier to turn, and then I turn it. I want to do the face now, so I just shove a little bit of stuffing into the face so I can get a good idea of how I want to sew his mouth. Today I was experimenting with using fabric paints to draw the face on, but I kind of chickened out at the last minute and decided to do thread for the mouth instead, and I really like it. I like how the thread looks. It just has like a nice kind of DIY whimsical look to it. So what's left on the black dragon now is to stuff him. I actually pack him pretty full of stuffing because this beautiful black material is fairly non-stretching, so I decided to really stuff it full. So now that the dragon is all stuffed, it's time to sew up the turning hole. I use some purple material, which is what I've been using for the whole project on him, and do a hidden ladder stitch to pull the material pieces together, putting in a bit of stuffing as I go, just to make sure it's fully rounded out before I tie it off. And here he looks. Wow, this is a pretty cute dragon. The last thing I need to do is add his eyes. So I whip out my trusty super glue. I picked these golden eye cabochons with this nice texture. It kind of matches his ears and his wings. When you want to do this, make sure that you hold the eye flat, not towards the camera, because you will get super glue all over your fingers and your desk and the eye cabochon. Luckily, the super glue did not get onto the front part of the eye cabochon, but it did get all over my thumb and sit there, and that's just something I have to deal with now. Anyway, I was much more careful with the second eye, but being the awesome YouTuber that I am, I didn't get it in frame when I put the second eye on, so literally 2 seconds later, because it dries within 2 seconds, here is the finished result. He looks pretty dang good. Oh, what's that? That's right, we still have to make the white dragon, so let's get into this. Now, you will see this in about 30 seconds, but I think each of these dragons needed about 5 hours for me to complete. So now that I've got black dragon done and the white dragon is nearly completed, let's see how they turned out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to hit the like button and give me a comment with some name suggestions. Otherwise, I'll give them really derpy names. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!